YouTube, what's going on? Going on. It says we're going live. I don't know if we're there. It says we're live. YouTube, good evening. How you doing? Good morning if you're in Australia or somewhere else in the world. What I like to do on these live streams, it's Mike Mutzel, by the way, is just check in to make sure we're actually streaming live. So I have my phone right here. I don't have any tech support. So there we go. We are live. So cool. All right. So I got my beer. No, I'm just kidding. Topo Chico. Okay, let's roll. Let's do this. Appreciate you all being here. What we're going to do while folks are still getting on is talk about antibody testing. But first, what we're going to do is talk about the vaccine. And this is something I did a very informal video about from my iPhone on Tuesday. And was just like, yo, guys, check it out. A lot of people are banking on the vaccine, thinking that this is going to cure humanity. But what I want to let every one of you know is that the body's response to a vaccine is not uniform. This is kind of interesting stuff. I think a lot of you might find this a little bit peculiar, right? So if we look at the individuals that are dying from this COVID-19 or individuals that have increased disease severity, folks that are hospitalized, they have some characteristics: obesity, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, right? If we look at the effectiveness of a vaccine, guess what some of the clinical characteristics are of people that don't have a lot of efficacy from the vaccine. And when I talk about efficacy, I'm talking about post-vaccine rises in antibodies. Remember, your adaptive immune system is responsible for making antibodies so that when you're exposed to a pathogen, that same pathogen again, there's immunologic memory so that virulent, whether it's a bacteria or a virus, that virulent pathogen can be neutralized and opsonized and phagocytized and excreted, right? So that's what immunological memory is all about. And that's basically the mechanism of action through which vaccines work. So I want you to keep in mind that there's a ton of data, and I'm making a very expanded video, but I wanted to drive this point home again because I've had some messages about this where people are saying, I'm just gonna stay home until there's a vaccine. And it's like, okay, well, while you're staying home, you might wanna work on your diet. You might want to work on your exercise plan. You might want to prioritize your sleep. You might want to learn how to manage your stress so that you can improve your body's immune system function. And tons of data are coming out. I mean, this is old data, really showing that vaccine effectiveness in overweight, obese, insulin-resistant, type 2 diabetics is not really there. Meaning that when these individuals are given the influenza vaccine that has been around for a very long time, the flu shot, that their body does not make sufficient levels of protective antibodies compared to healthy controls. So wanted to throw that in there. And yeah, all right. So now that has been established, let's talk about the antibody test. Now I'm just going to lay over some footage so you can see here. What I'm going to do actually is just make sure that the volume is turned down on this guy so you can hear me talk and all that sort of stuff. So to make a long story short, we went to Arc Point Labs, and the reason why I like their test, again, I make no money off this. I'm just telling you this just because it's a finger prick. It's just literally just like a glucose test, essentially, where they prick a small amount of blood from your finger. They drop it on that meter that you're seeing right there. 10 minutes later, you should have, if you were exposed to this novel human coronavirus, you should have levels of antibody levels. And so here's the other 10 minutes, other way to look at it. Oh man, oh yeah, you're seeing it on the screen here. So that's what it looks like. That's what the finished meter looks like to my left. So you can see that. And as I was explaining earlier on Facebook, my wife and I were pretty certain that we would have had high antibodies, okay? As I've shared with some of you all earlier, and let me just wipe out this layer so it's not distracting for you. Literally at less than half a mile from our house, maybe it's about 3/4 of a mile, is Evergreen Hospital. This was where the first 1 and 13, I believe, or maybe it was 11 fatalities were from this novel human coronavirus in the United States of America. So we were the first state. Washington State was the first state to shut down. Majority of the fatalities within the state of Washington were in the county that we live in, King County. So look, we go to the Whole Foods periodically, which is literally a rock throw away from Evergreen Hospital. We're there. We don't wear gloves. We're not really strict about washing our hands. We know a lot of people in this area that also work at Evergreen. And so we are like, and my wife got super sick. Her twin sister got very sick in January, had a lot of upper respiratory tract stuff. Both of us got tested. It's kind of like, unclimatic. We were both negative. So this doesn't mean that we weren't necessarily exposed. I don't know. And I'm not trying to say that I want to be exposed, but it was just kind of interesting. I thought, we thought for sure that we definitely would have had some exposure. But, to maybe look into this deeper, what I might do is have my wife do the serum, IgG, IgA, and IgM, and also the spike protein antibody test from Vibrant America. So that might be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more specific. It's using serum versus just a blood spot. So we might do that. We wanted to do this ArcPoint Labs because it's a finger prick. We get the results that day. And we were just kind of curious. So I think look, if you want to do something for your community, for your people, especially if you're going to be around folks over the age of 60, you might want to know if you've had antibodies or not. I think, my mom was super excited. She's 62. My dad just turned 70. So, I did it to see like, hey, should I be, not that I'm not practicing social distancing right now. I am, but how serious should I really take this? I mean, if I see a friend, should we be like, yo, back up? Or, just to try and, figure out to minimize exposure so that we don't get exposed and inadvertently harm someone else. So that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I think I'd recommend it. Again, ArcPoint Labs. I did the finger prick. It was 10 minutes. It was only $100. I say only. In the grand scheme of lab testing, that's affordable. And for us, it was peace of mind, and I wanted to be able to share it with you. So yeah, and let's get into some questions here. So I'll just see if you have any questions on the live. Let's see. So it's Friday night. What are y'all doing on a Friday? So COVID-19 can really crush your social plans on a Friday night. All right, so we got quite a few folks here. We got Cape Cod, Massachusetts. What's happening? We got Sam here in the house. I feel bad for the people who wash hands like mad. You know what? Yeah, man. As a society, we're getting pretty crazy with plastic, with hand sanitizer, with washing hands, with gloves. I made this joke on Instagram and I pissed some people off, but it was actually Deanna's idea. Because we see people walking around on the outside, like walking their dog with a face mask on. And it's like, come on, man. What are you doing walking outside with a face mask? Like there's no one around you. Kirkland, Washington is not Manhattan. Look, if I was in lower Manhattan or on the east side and there's people everywhere, I'm going in the subway, I'm wearing a face mask, okay? But in sleepy little Kirkland, Washington, where you're probably not even going to see someone on a sidewalk, it's a little overkill. It's a little overkill. And plus your oxygen consumption by way of the mask is reduced, which is not healthy. So anyway, so my wife was joking, because we've been snacking way more than we normally do. We don't buy junk and crap like that, but she does make nut butters. We have cashew yogurt, stuff like that. And Deanna was like, all right, Mike, I have a new idea for this face mask. I'm going to put it on and we're going to use it to like increase or, our ability or create more friction between us and the damn refrigerator. I was like, dude, that's a good idea. That's a good use of the face mask. So you don't get the COVID-15, right? Anyway, so I made a joke about it on Instagram and people took me too seriously and were like, dude, you're like sending out conflicting information from what the government's saying. I'm like, look, it's a joke. All right. Anyway, so let's get to some questions. For those of you that are new to the channel, what I like to do here on these lives, it's definitely less formal, less sciencey from our other videos. And, sometimes I don't get into detail on every single comment that you leave, but I love your comments. So please keep leaving them. And what I do is when I get a lot of messages that are long like this over on Instagram, I take screenshots of those. And then when we do these lives, I can answer this question. So this was a really good question from an individual about stress. And I think stress for some people can be a confusing topic because we hear about hormetic stress being favorable. For example, exercise, going in the sauna, doing a cold plunge, doing hyperventilation followed by retention breath work. That's a stressor. Doing exercise is a stressor, but then we hear that stress is bad. So let's just separate two types of stressors, make it super simple. You have short-term intentional planned stress. This would be, an interval. This would be weightlifting. This would be sprinting. This would be breath work. This would be a cold plunge. This would be a sauna, right? This would be phytochemicals, right? That short-term, that's planned stress. It's an ebb and flow. It's a little blip, okay? Then you have chronic stress. Chronic, unrelenting stress is maladaptive. Okay, doing a little bit of hyperventilation breath work is good. Chronically being hyperventilated and having low levels of oxygen is bad. Doing a little bit of exercise is good. Exercising for 24 hours in a day is bad. So separating out stress from chronicity versus acute. And so that's what we need to understand is there some beneficial properties and some adaptations, some changes. Look, we got 155 of you on, so thanks for being here. If I was speaking to 155 people live, I would be a little bit nervous. I wouldn't be shaking my knees and gonna have to pee my pants, but I would be like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't have any wine for a week. I'm gonna make sure I'm getting good sleep because I wanna be Johnny on the spot when I'm in front of these people, right? But if I was that, that you take that little small stress that say anyone would have in speaking to 155 people, if you had that same stress every day, that would be maladaptive. Whereas that short-term speaking gig, the little stress created there is favorable, right? It leads to positive changes. It helps you feel good. So that's the differences here. Okay. Got this great question earlier today about coffee. Look, I know some people are super, I can be pretty picky about stuff when it comes to science, but I know some people are like, look, if you have green tea, you're breaking your fast. And, I'm not like that. I like people to be able to practice the 80-20 principle. So if they're going to intermittent fast or do time restricted feeding or even do a 2 to 3 day fast, and if coffee is going to help them take a dump in the morning, have some coffee. I'm not worried about it. Don't have a coffee with half a cup of honey, half a cup of sugar. Don't put a gallon of milk in there, right? So this is the difference. Having a little bit of something that's going to help you finish whatever that goal would be, i.e. a fast or time restricted feeding, I'm cool with that. There's no problem. Plus, what coffee does is it helps our fat cells release lipids. It's a complex process called adipocyte lipolysis, which is essentially freeing or splitting the stored triglycerides that are in your fat tissue, splitting them up into free fatty acids that have two fates. They can be burned, so-called oxidized, or what we call fat burning, or they can be converted into ketones. So I'm all for coffee. I'm all for green tea. I'm all for black tea. And I'm all for carbonated water. So helpful, maybe. But by the way, friends, if you're liking this content, please hit that like button. If you're not yet subscribed, please do so. We're going to talk about the zinc taste test very, very soon. Okay. This next question was really good. It was from a pregnant woman. And I just want to make it very clear that you have your whole life to fast, but you only have a finite amount of time to nourish your baby. So I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting when you're pregnant. Now, look, that's not to be confused with pregnant women should eat 24/7. Okay. I think some sort of time restricted feeding, maybe you're fasting for 12 hours is healthy so that we're not digging ourselves into a metabolic hole while we're pregnant. But we also want to make sure that we're not restricting the developing baby from good nutrition that mom can provide from eating healthy food. Okay. So also during breastfeeding, I see a lot of women, they give birth, they have a baby, they want to get their body back. But women need to realize that in the postpartum window, you need a lot of excess energy to, guess what, create breast milk. Breast milk is so protective for your baby. So a lot of women want to just crank down that fasting knob, crank up the exercise, when they really need to be in a calorie surplus to create all that milk for the baby. So I recommend women about 6 to 8 months maybe after delivering a baby. You've got a lot of breast milk in your baby. You've affected their microbiome and their immune system from that nourishing breast milk. Then consider time restricted feeding and cranking down a little bit more, increasing the exercise, but making sure that you understand that you can get your body back at any point in time and the baby comes first. A healthy baby means a healthy parent. I see families with kids that are sick and have, to no fault of their own, but it can create a stress. Being a parent is stressful enough, so do everything you can to make sure that your child is very healthy. So just wanted to share that. Now, I know a lot of you are taking zinc. So we got a bunch of this on our website, Aqueous Zinc by Biotics. This is an old test. I learned about this in 2007. It's called the zinc taste test. And I just wanted you all to know about this. This is on our website. It's like $9, something with our promo code HIH. Here's what's cool about this. A lot of you are taking supplemental zinc, but you might be taking more than you really need to. And excessive zinc can affect the copper levels. So our partner here, Biotics Research, they have this aqueous zinc. It's called the zinc taste test. So basically what you do is you take maybe 2 tablespoons of this. I'm pretty liberal with it. It's pretty affordable. I have a couple bottles laying around most of the time. I'll just take a chug like that, let it sit in my mouth. Okay. It only has 2.3 milligrams of zinc. And if I don't taste a metallic taste in my mouth, then I keep taking the amount of zinc that I think I should be taking, which sometimes is 25 milligrams, sometimes 50. But I think a lot of people right now are way overdoing the zinc. And I wanted you to basically have access to this and know that this is available as a way to kind of ascertain or help you kind of figure out how much zinc you should be taking. So again, our website, myoscience.com, it's the aqueous zinc by Biotics. There's all kinds of zincs out there. I like this liquid one because it's pretty unique. There's not a lot of liquid zincs out there. And you don't want to take this as your main source of zinc. You just want to take it to figure out. Once you start tasting that metallic taste, then you want to back down on the zinc. You've kind of hit your threshold enough. Why is it? What's the science? It's that zinc does affect kind of the taste receptors in the tongue and things like that. And there may be something there. If there's a deficiency, that you won't taste the metallic taste. So check that out. Again, our website is myoscience.com. Just wanted to let you all know about that. And yeah. All right. Let's get to some questions. What do we got? We got Joshua Webb. Josh, what's up, man? You're here all the time. I love it. Dude Rude says, Sam MM, I respect that answer. Super Trap 007, we need to go back to work. I am totally with you, man. I've been sharing a lot of these insights about going back to work and the complications of the economy being shut down on my Facebook and Instagram page, and I'm getting a lot of heat for it, man. So it's good we all spread the word that we need to go back to work. There's got to be an inflection point where we're doing more harm than good by keeping the economy closed down, by keeping people at home. This is problematic. Okay. Gutton says intermittent stress is good. Constant stress is bad. Absolutely, my man. So what else? Beachy says stress releases constant cortisol and it makes you sick. Yeah, man. So the stress that we are all experiencing right now, the worst type of stress is the stress where you have no perceived control, lack of perceived control, which we're all experiencing right now. Why is that? Because our governors, our politicians are basically, saying, hey, we don't think you should go back to work yet because we need to flatten the curve, even though the curve in most areas outside of Manhattan is pretty damn flat, right? So that's that lack of perceived control. It creates issues. People are drinking more. People are binge eating food. People are getting abused. People are doing some bad shit out there, man. So I'm with you. We should get back to work. That doesn't mean that if you're susceptible, if you're elderly, that you go lick the toilet seats in your ICU. We all have to be a little bit more careful and cautious, but I'm with all of you that we should get back to work. So, yeah, anyway, pals, I appreciate you being here. You know what? If I didn't have you all, if I didn't read your comments, I would be super lonely. So if you're feeling lonely, leave a comment. I'll write back to you. Let's connect. I want to get back to doing live stuff in person. We're going to be doing a lot of events. Hopefully we can start doing these suckers soon. I don't know when we're going to be back to doing stuff in person, but I had a series of live workshops planned for this year and we had to put them off. Because I want to meet you in person. I want to say what's up. I want to shake your hand. I want to share some cool science and stuff like that in person in a city near you. So hopefully we get back to it soon. So pals, thanks for tuning in. I hope you have an awesome weekend. I got some really cool gardening stuff and backyard chicken stuff. So if y'all want to learn how to, really do it yourself, check it out tomorrow morning. You're going to dig it. So have a good day. Appreciate you being here. Thanks all.